Good afternoon. My name is Silvia Aran. I'm the Technical Sales Director at Polygon ID. And today I'm going to speak about the intersection between stablecoins and digital identity. So actually there are two very different concepts, as you can imagine and as you can see. So firstly, before even talking about the intersections, I think the most interesting thing would be to start understanding a bit better what are the main features or purposes of stablecoins, what are the main purposes and value proposition of the digital identity, and then let's see what they have in common, right? So to me, stablecoins are the state of the art of cryptocurrencies. That's a personal opinion, right? Since I'm a person a bit adverse to risk, so to me, the stablecoins are the state of the art of cryptocurrencies. Just because, needless to say, stablecoins are offering stable value, right? Price stability, and since they are usually pegged to fiat currency or a basket of assets, then they minimize the price fluctuations, making them very reliable medium of exchange and store of value, and in some cases almost comparable to the traditional currencies, traditional fiat currencies, right? Another characteristic of stable coins is that they are also a quite good risk mitigation instrument. So they serve as means of hedging against cryptocurrency market volatility. In that manner, for instance, investors or traders could convert their cryptocurrencies or their investments into stable coins during periods of high market volatility, uncertainty, and in that manner they reduce their exposures to price fluctuations. Another feature of stable coins is that they provide efficient transactions. With that I mean they are super fast transactions compared to the traditional finance industry or of payments, for instance. They are also cost efficient, right? And by leveraging blockchain technology, stablecoins can enable almost cross-border transactions instantaneously. And since we are removing intermediaries in the process, then they are also very cost-efficient transactions. And the last but not the least is the decentralization and trustlessness that they provide. So in some cases, the stablecoins are based on developed on using blockchain technology, right? Decentralized networks, and that eliminates central points of control and provide trustless transactions. So in addition, when they are developed using smart contracts and leveraging also cryptographic mechanism, they in that manner ensure transparency, auditability, and verifiability without the need of central authorities interacting, no? Relying on central authorities. So that's in my view the main features that the stablecoins offer nowadays. And if I would speak about what would be the state of the art of digital identities, so let's see if we can move to the next slide. No. It's not. I don't know if it's locked. Can you help me? Strange. Well, so now after having resolved this technical issue, let's continue with what, in my view, is the state of the art of digital identities. And in my view, the state of the art of a digital identity is a decentralized self-sovereign identity. I don't know if you are familiar with the concept of self-sovereign identity, but this is providing a shift between or from the account-based identities, the ones that where you had to put always your username and the password, or the ones that are also controlled by third parties like Google accounts or Instagram accounts, to accounts or identities that are really created, managed, owned, and controlled by the user, right? That's really a fundamental change moving into the digital identity space. So in that self-sovereign identity space, you will find that the users, as I said, really own their identity, control their data, and this data and identity is usually stored in the user's mobile phone, right? And that is also giving the user further self-sovereignty of the identity. So if you would start storing your data in a cloud space that is controlled by another party, then you somehow are losing part of your self-sovereignty in here, right? So an important aspect, and some of the solutions providing self-sovereign identities, some of the developments providing self-sovereign identity solutions are also providing privacy features, and that's where we are really focusing in Polygon ID. So privacy is super fundamental for us. You will see later on how we offer that using and leveraging ZK technology, ZK proof technology. And we try to keep the information as private as possible and only share minimal information whenever the user really is accepting to do so, right? And the last but not the least, also another important feature is that data is portable and reusable. That means since you own that data is in your wallet, in your identity wallet, you will be able to use that data whenever you want without having to ask to a third party, right, to give you access to that data and later on reuse it whenever you need it. We will see examples of that. So now I have just covered quickly what a stablecoin offer, what digital identity offer. So where is the intersection between them, right? Because they are two completely different concepts, right? But there are some areas of commonalities. Well, they could, not always, but they could use DLTs or distributed ledger technology. They offer certain decentralization aspects. Not always, but in some cases, depending on how they are implemented. And the accessibility in terms of, in some cases, having access to stable coins provide you or unbanked people access to the financial services that couldn't be done before for them, right? The same happens for people without own documentation. So that digital identity would give these people without having documents issued by the government the possibility to own a digital identity. But actually, in my view, what is more important is not what is the intersection between stable coins and digital identities. To me, it's what they together, right? What can they deliver together? What synergies can create? And in my view, the synergies are new opportunities and also applications in the decentralized finance space. When they work together, you can find really how things become a bit smoother interacting in the decentralized finance space. And I'm gonna now go into the details of some cases where one in combination with the other are really bringing value, right? Let's go. So in my view, one area where we can improve tremendously nowadays is combining security and privacy. So usually when you want to have something super secure, then your privacy is compromised, right? Before even going into the topic, I really want to show you this quote from Vera Jourova, an European Commission Vice President, that said, contrary to what we sometimes hear, we don't have to choose between, on the one hand, the protection of personal data, and on the other hand, security or economic well-being. Rather than involving such false trade-offs, privacy is a prerequisite for allowing citizens to embrace innovative solutions without fear. And it's super powerful. I like it because it's the first time I see someone in the European Commission really fighting for this privacy, right? And saying, well, no, I understand security, and this is coming more in relation to the implementation of anti-money laundering regulations, but privacy is also key for citizens. And now, then you know in which direction I'm going, right? So the direction that this goes is, well, in the world of stablecoins, you will not be able to get the stablecoins if you don't interact with what we call a CASP, a crypto asset service provider or exchange, right? And the exchanges, as you know, are being regulated. So now people are not really keen on going through KYCs and so on and so forth, right? Giving away personal data. So as I said, with the transpose of the Financial Action Task Force, the travel rules that was in the European Union passed into what we call now the travel, so the transfer of funds rules. It's now converted into a law together with MiCA, and it's going to probably become enforceable by January 2025. This is going to oblige, so to say, the crypto asset service providers to really ensure that they know with whom they are dealing, so going through KYC, anti-money laundering, so sanction checks and so on, with all the clients, and they are operating with them with amounts beyond 1,000 euros. So as soon as you want to buy, sell crypto stable coins in one of the exchanges, you need to go through KYC. Now, we all hate KYC, right? I don't want to give my data away. So that's where we come with a solution, a self-sovereign identity solution, like the one we are offering in Polygon ID. And before going into the details, I want to tell you how this triangle of trust in the digital identity space works. I don't know if you're very familiar with the self-sovereign identity, how it works, but we always paint a triangle of trust. In that triangle of trust, we always have the identity holder, that's the user, right? We have the issuer, that's what we call the source of trust. That is the one that is giving the trust to the verifier. So there is a real trust in the real world between the verifier and the issuer. And that verifier is the application in the digital world you want to interact with. It could be the exchange, it could be the DeFi platform, it could be your bank, right? And whenever you interact as a user with that centralized exchange or crypto asset service provider, what that CASP would like to know is whether you are eligible to operate with them, right? Whether you are who you say to be, that you are not in a sanctions list, and so on and so forth. So now that verifier is going to send the user to that KYC provider, right? The issuer, to whom the verifier trust could be Jumio, Fido, the ones of the KYC providers you know of this world. And that issuer is going to ask me to go through the KYC process. And after going through that KYC process, the difference to the current processes is that the issuer is going to issue what we call a verifiable credential, right? This verifiable credential is kind of a card, an electronic card, right? A JSON-LD with a JSON-LD format that is going to be given to me as identity holder. And in that card is gonna be signed with the cryptographic keys of the issuer. That is gonna say, I prove that I have said this about this person, right? And with that card, later on I can interact with that verifier and start proving things about myself, right? And you will say, well, but where is the privacy here? And I don't know if you can read it, but in here we say ZK proofs. So that interaction, what we are doing in Polygon ID is ensuring that that interaction could be done in a form of a zero-knowledge proof. So that credential is going to be used to answer questions from the verifier. So the verifier maybe is going to ask me, please prove to me that you have gone through a KYC process successfully, and please prove to me that you are not included in the list of sanctioned countries. With this ZK proof, I will be able to prove, based on the information included in those credentials that the KYC provider issued to me, that I actually comply with all the requirements that DeFi platform or centralized exchange is requesting to me, right? So, as I said, using ZK technology, we managed to keep private information really private, which is really cool, right? Another thing, as I said before, that credential is stored in my wallet, and then I can reuse that credential later on when I interact with another centralized exchange that is going to ask me again to prove the same thing. So I will save all the process of going through KYC because I have already gone through that before. I have that credential in my wallet, and I can share it again with the other exchange if they actually really trust the issuer of that credential, right? That real trust in the real world is really essential. Well, another cool aspect of our technology is that we can even ensure that this interaction between the identity holder and the verifier can happen on chain, right? So we are transforming off-chain information that was created by the issuer in the form of a verifiable credential, and with that off-chain information, then we can generate a ZK proof that will be shared with the verifier and validated on chain. As I said, this interaction can be done in a private manner, but in some cases, the verifier might need to know my username or my address, because certain authorities are requesting that information, and the technology also supports and that I can reveal this data with a feature called selective disclosure. So I will selectively disclose part of the information, right? Well, another nice use case, I believe we support combining stable coins with digital identities, is financial inclusion. So I like this very much because with the evolution of technology, we really need to ensure that the gap between developed economies and emerging markets really get reduced instead of wider, right? So, and this is an area where we are making this gap reduced, allowing people without access to traditional financial services to be able to really get access to those interactions in the digital economy. So as I said, we are helping to bank the unbanked, right? So leveraging stable coins, we can enable individuals without access to traditional banking services to start interacting in the digital economy and having access to financial services without even, in some cases, having official documents issued, right, and available, or without being in possession of these documents, which I think it's a really, really interesting case. And there are some other cases, right, where we can combine digital identities with stable coins. And here I just put 3 of them, and I'm mentioning also what are the main advantages of this combination of cases. So cross-border remittances and peer-to-peer payments. To me, peer-to-peer payments are almost the same than cross-border remittances, with the fact on top that this pay is going to be done across borders, right? And it's going to be done on a much faster way, on a much cheaper way, and minimizing fraudulent transactions, since here we are at the point of having the possibility to identify with whom you are transacting, and then you minimize the risk that you are transferring your money to, let's say, a bad actor, right? Decentralized finance, as I said before, with digital identities or decentralized digital identities, we are supporting the parties to be compliant and regulatory compliant, but there are some other cases quite nice, like being able to get some reputation in your digital identity based on the assets you hold in the real, let's say, economy, also in the decentralized economy. And with that, you can get a kind of a scoring that is attached to your digital identity. And with that scoring, you can start proving things to that DeFi platform that then can lend you money without having to be 100% collateralized. And another point, interesting point, is the minimization of intermediaries here. And another very nice use case, and this is coming, I know that there are people already working in this arena, it's using digital identities for supply chain finance and trade finance. So in this world, the goods are being tracked, all parties involved need to be KYC'd. Trust is super important because fraud usually is difficult to detect. So with digital identities, we can have identities attached to goods, attached to ships, attached to invoices, and all this would help to secure and make more transparent transactions, more traceable transactions, reduce the fraud, and then enhance trust among supply chain parties, right? And of course, payments don't need to go through the traditional payment rails that banks are offering. Payments can be done with stablecoins. Well, I think we have covered quite so many use cases, interesting use cases, combining these two different concepts, right? Technologies. But there are a lot of challenges also to be considered. So the technologies, or the challenges that these technologies face nowadays are common, I would say. We have, on one hand, usability and adoption, right? This is not yet adopted by everyone. We haven't achieved yet the point of mass adoption. We need to work a bit or a lot on education. There's always certain reluctance to adopting new technologies, right? And in some cases, that comes also in hand with the other challenge I'm saying, so the user experience, the user experience. So user adoption sometimes gets hindered because these products in some cases are not super easy to use, right? So we need to work a lot on making more intuitive interfaces, reducing the complexity on the processes needed to work with these technologies. So there's a lot to work to be done. But I know we are working on that already, which is good. Scalability and performance, that's another challenge, but I think we are already addressing it. So we are getting at levels that of throughput of transaction volumes that are comparable to the ones in the banking system. So we are getting there. It's not the challenge that most worries me. The one with interoperability and standards, that's another important one, because in digital identities you will see a lot of different approaches to how to resolve digital identities. They are not talking to each other, so to say, so some level of a standardization, it's gonna help to reduce that fragmentation or to find some common points to work together, right? And the last two are very much connected to each other: regulatory compliance and legal frameworks across jurisdictions. So if we would like to ensure compliance with regulations when we are verifying parties, right? We also need to know what are the rules to be applied depending on the location that we are really transacting. So to ensure that we are fulfilling the regulatory requirements on the identity verification processes, we then need to know the legal framework to which we need to adhere. And there is a bit of work to be done in this area to try to converge also the regulations around how to identify identities. I think the European Union is doing a good job in this respect. Well, I don't want to finish the presentation with the challenges, right? Let's at least look at how the future outlook and opportunities of these technologies looks like. It's a very personal opinion. What I'm just adding to the next slide is my thoughts about how this is gonna look in the future. And I would say the future looks good, right? I think we are doing a good job in managing all the challenges I have just mentioned before. We just need a bit more time to work on them. So I expect to have by far wider adoption, facilitated by multiple factors. I know we are already working on the regulatory aspects, regulation providing common ground, and this is needed. So until certain actors in this industry don't see regulations supporting functioning with stable coins, and how to also ensure that we prevent anti-money money laundering and illicit transactions, then this is not going to fly, right? But we are already moving good in this direction. I need to say that over-regulating is not good either, right? But some level of regulation and standardization is good, and we are getting there. Introduction of similar offerings in CBDCs. Although we can say, well, if there are CBDCs, then what role will play stablecoins? I would say they will coexist, and the introduction of CBDCs probably will help the wider adoption of stablecoins, because the people on the ground, the general public, so to say, will start accepting this type of technologies, stablecoins, or this type of digital currencies, since they will be already be given by parties they trust, right? And finally, we are already moving into improved user experience. We have heard about account abstraction. I think this will help a lot in moving into allowing certain parts of the population to manage their currencies and identity without the need to use wallets that they control. Not everyone is prepared, right, to manage their own keys. And well, I think that's part of the user experience that we need to be able to offer. And I think we will see also new use cases appearing, involving also the traditional finance sector. So at the moment, most of the traditional finance sector cannot do much in relation to cryptocurrencies. Regulations around in Europe and the US are not allowing that. But I believe once we start entering into the CBDC arena and we have some CBDCs in place, that movement between CBDCs, stable coins, and then allowing a traditional finance sector to get involved with them will come. I think that's something coming around. Well, for the ones that are interested on knowing a bit more about Polygon ID or digital identity, and they want to experience what digital identities and self-sovereign identities can offer, I just want to say that we have not only a product that we are shipping, we have a wide ecosystem that we are integrating a lot of companies that are already using Polygon ID and in different areas. So as issuers, as verifiers, as wallet providers. So there are wallets that are integrating our SDKs in order to facilitate users to be able to manage their identities from that wallet, right? So that wallet then will not only manage assets like NFTs and crypto, but also identities. And another thing I wanted to mention is, as you know, our solution is open source, so there is a bunch of code that is available and we can make available our tutorials. There is a lot of information, useful information and material available. So please don't hesitate to contact me in case you are interested in knowing how to implement Polygon ID, right? And well, here is a view of how it looks like a wallet that has integrated our SDKs and is already containing certain, let's say, credentials about the identity, like proving that you are the owner of a specific Twitter account or with certain followers in Twitter. So creating your reputation, or even being able to prove your age, right? Having your KYC age credential, which for gaming is quite useful. So you can then make use of those credentials to prove things about yourself in the digital space. Well, with that, I just want to say thank you very much to everyone for hearing, for listening, for for attending. And if you like, let's make something together. Just let me know, right? Thank you very much. And I don't know if we have time for questions. Well, super punctual. Any questions? No? Thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.